Hello and welcome to the Library of Chaos. Today we'll be looking at the analog horror series by this demented fellow, Urban Spook. This creator made an intriguing and blood-curdling story in a few short tapes, and I cannot praise his sound design enough. It's terrifying. Today we'll be going over the 4 tapes, and at the end I'll explain my take of what's going on. The descriptions for these tapes read that they are old VHS tapes that had been found that the creator is now digitizing. Our first tape, named Faces, opens with a warning that content may be unsuitable for all viewers. Then the police tape begins to show the first of 3 confirmed victims. This woman named Carla Gray was found repeatedly stabbed and her teeth removed. Then it shows a painting found at the scene with the title, Carla's Teeth. After that terrifying visage, a second victim is shown. Her name Jackie Graham. She was stabbed repeatedly in a rather uncomfortable position and then drowned. Then the tape shows another painting, dubbed Floating Jackie. The last victim, James Miller, was found with his face torn off and wrists slit, and autopsy evidence showed that he lived for some time without a face. The painting found for him was dubbed James' Secret Face. Before we continue, the horror of this killer is beginning to be revealed. These paintings depicting the greatest moments of suffering of the victims and setting the stage for the rest of the series. The tape continues as 2 months later more paintings were found, but these paintings were not connected to any cases at the time. Wax Doll Tom, Lisa's Secret Face, Hanging Jimmy, Fuck Toy Corey, Daniel After the Fire, Jenny's Last Stare, and Scream Maggie Scream. I would remember those names. After the police went public with this case, hoping to save anyone they could, they received 3 photos in the mail. The photos they received depicted James Miller, Jackie Graham, and Jimmy. One final painting was found 2 days before the tape, titled Self-Portrait. This horrifying visage is the last image the tape ends on, and the horrifying realization should have struck the viewer. The paintings depict 7 victims, and only 2 are accounted for. Like I said, remember those paintings. Our second tape begins with another warning, and then the title, The Lighthouse. 4 weeks prior, a police officer went missing, along with his wife and 2 daughters. This officer, Bill Collins, had previously discovered the terrifying self-portrait painting in his home with no idea how it could have gotten there. While searching, the police found in Bill's house one of his daughters, the 2-month-old named Angel, hanging from a rope in the attic. As the police searched 12 days later, they located the Collins family car by the ocean side. Inside was this painting, with the title, Long-Necked Angel. Sickening, but well crafted. The search led the police to an old lighthouse that had been out of commission for several years. On the door of the lighthouse was an untitled painting of a face. Inside were found the scorched remains of a missing teenager named Daniel Williams, one of our mystery victims from the paintings. The police proceeded into the tunnels and located 2 corpses belonging to Jennifer White and her daughter, Lisa, who had been missing for months. 2 more of our mystery victims found. Lastly, the police located a moist barrel emitting a foul odor. The barrel filled with a mangled mess of flesh and bone. Lab testing showed that the barrel was full of the remaining pieces of the Collins family. The tests also found a large volume of amphetamine. like the victims had been drugged. Instead of a painting for the Collins family, a bunch of photos were of them taken just before they were dead are strewn about the floor around the barrel. And the final image that ends the Lighthouse tape is this fourth photo depicting an unknown face. So far, most of our mystery victims have been found, but questions and mysteries are introduced. The odd self-portrait painting from faces appearing in the Collins home for no reason, the abstract face painting on the door, the strange photos of the family, and the final unknown photo.
The third tape is titled In the Walls. It opens with an image of two children, Corey and Margaret Beck, age 11. 10 days prior to the recording, the Beck twins went missing. 5 days later, their bodies were discovered inside an abandoned paper mill. But bodies were found in a ghastly condition. Only the top half of Margaret and the bottom half of Corey were found, and they were stitched together crudely. The rest of their bodies are still unfound. Margaret had her jaw and neck broken in several places, and a brick was violently jammed down her throat with the word meat written on the side. Corey had had his genitalia ripped off by a pulling force. And there go two more of the mystery paintings. Only Tom remaining. The police also found that 1 week before their disappearance, Corey had been dared by his friends to spend an hour in a remote cabin in the woods near Tiger Lake. Allegedly, Corey went inside alone with a camera, while his friends waited for him after a short time. After a very short period of about 4 minutes, Corey ran out screaming about seeing a face, and apparently his left arm had been badly bruised. The police investigated the cabin and found a crawl space connected to a wardrobe. Inside the crawl space was found Corey's camera, and the following images were taken. The tape ends saying that the face that Corey had seen was probably connected to the twins' disappearance, and a number appeared on the screen that was there to call if there was more information. I have called the number, it doesn't function. Then we move on to the most recent tape, dubbed The Clue.
As you saw in that opening clip, the police were working with the private investigator Sean Kane to hunt down these painting victims. They appear to have found the last of the initial mystery painting victims, Tom Harris, shown in the Wax Boy Tom painting. His body was found in his apartment that the killer had broken into via climbing the storm drain to enter the third-floor window. He was encased in candle wax, with his eyelids and arms cut off. Cause of death was suffocation by candle wax. Within the wax was a third arm that the police still have yet to identify. After that, Sean Kane was not seen for several days. The police were eventually called to his house after neighbors notified them that Kane's dog had been barking for over 9 hours. The police entered an awful sight. James's dog was lying on the floor with her legs all broken. She was severely dehydrated but still alive. Further investigation showed a blood trail leading to the kitchen. The only clue the police could find was that Sean had deliberately written the number 2 on his doorframe in his own blood. Inside his bedroom, there was found another painting that resembled the Private Eye, titled Man in the Pipes. It was discovered that the perpetrator had entered through the basement, in which Mr. Kane had a security camera. The camera was broken, but it did get this image of the painter. And that is the Unsettling's tape visage that ends this tape. I absolutely love the story that Urban Spook is making with these tapes. He's presenting a rare thing in analog horror, a human, not a supernatural threat. And that's what I find so interesting about this horror. The painter, like his paintings, is warped and surreal form of man. He's still human, and that is what's terrifying. This monster is within a normal form, and it's just wrong enough, and all of these images are just wrong enough that it invokes that same uncanny fear that the Mandela catalogs capitalizes on with their altars. But this is not an altar. This is a man. He's a monster in a human skin. And some of the greatest villains ever written were these monsters in human skin. Now we talk about unanswered questions. The tapes do seem to wrap each other up quite well, a lot better than some other series. But they still do leave a few hanging threads. Like the arm encased in the wax. Is it from another victim we don't have a painting for? Or is it for the one painting that we don't have a name for? The one on the door of the lighthouse? And where did the rest of the twins' bodies go? Beyond that, there is an overarching question of who is this painter? We've seen them at least once per tape, but we know nothing about them. Except we do. There are not enough characters that are fleshed out enough in the story to give me an identity, but we can find a pattern of behavior. This painter is clearly someone who sees the world differently and is stretched to their limit. But they find an anchor to reality through the paintings of human suffering. He's not a sexual killer, but an associative one. And much like some of the great serial killers of the Zodiac or the Unabomber, he keeps track of the investigation. He's involved. He controls how much information is shared through his paintings and gives leads through the paintings of how these people died. It's a gamified, detached reality, and that's where the killer lives. It's fantastic writing by Urban Spooks, and I could be completely wrong, but if I am right and this is the case, you sir are making one of the best, most concise studies of human horror I have ever seen. And I thank you for letting me ramble on about such a well-made work of art. I have been your curator and your guide. Farewell, until next time, from the Library of Chaos.